Okay, so what we're going to do now is, this is kind of a neat feature on the Nspire. It's converting decimals to fractions and fractions to decimals. So first thing I want to do is I want to clarify in another video, I forgot to mention that these options here for calculating graph are sketch pads as opposed to opening up a new document. So the first thing I want to do is I want to actually open up a document for the calculator. So the way that I do that is I go down to here and I select the calculator, and notice that the text says add calculator to new document. So we'll select that, and then on the old TI calculators like a TI-83 or 84, if I were to enter in 3 divided by 4 and hit enter, what it would do is it would automatically calculate the decimal, which is 0.75. But notice that when I hit enter, it gave me 3 over 4, which is the fraction. In other words, it didn't convert it to a decimal. And so the reason for that is and you could do this on the newer, like a TI-89, where it leaves this is what we call the exact value, where sometimes when we convert to a decimal, it will round to so many floating points or whatever. So I can still convert this to a decimal. In other words, if I put in 3 divided by 4, but notice there's this approximation symbol here. And so if I were to go control and then click enter, it'll approximate it, and then it will convert it to a decimal. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it, though, is to use the menu item. So I'm going to hit 3 divided by 4, which is a fraction. Okay, so now if I wanted to convert that to the decimal, what I would do is I would click menu, scroll down to my number programs, and over here I can convert to decimal. And so I'm going to choose that option. And what this is saying is take the answer from the previous calculation and convert it to a decimal. So it's going to take this 3/4, and then that's the answer, and it's going to convert it into a decimal as soon as I hit enter. So now if I hit enter, I'll get 0.75, which is cool. But let's say I have this decimal and I want to convert it back to a fraction. Not a problem. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to number and scroll to the right. And then towards the bottom, you'll see, well, not towards the bottom, right underneath is what I should have said. It says approximate to fraction. So this, an approximation and decimal are kind of the same, because a lot of times when you take the numerator and divide it by the denominator, it doesn't always terminate. In other words, 3 divided by 4 is 0.75, because when you do long division, it terminates after the 5. But that isn't always the case, and then your calculator rounds, and we call, whenever you round something, that's not the exact value. That's the approximation. And fraction left in fraction form is actually the exact value, because it's a ratio. You're comparing 3 to 4. So anyways, if I hit this button, it's going to take my answer and it's going to approximate it. And then this is the tolerance of the approximation, which is pretty much close to 0. You can set that. You're going to go a certain level of decimal places when it comes to taking the approximation and converting it to a fraction. So you can alter this. We'll talk about that in a different video. For most of your calculations, this will be fine. So if I hit enter now, it'll take this, which is the answer, 0.75, and try to convert it back to a fraction. Now we'll hit enter, and it takes it and converts it back to a fraction. Okay? So that's how you take a fraction and convert it to a decimal, and take a decimal and convert it back to a fraction on the new TI-Nspire.